Hey y'all, it's Charlie. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. As you can tell by the title, this is my second video in my PCT series. If you want to keep up with this PCT series, all you need to do is subscribe to my channel and put on the notification bell so you know when I upload. So as you can tell by the title and by the fact that I have on my blazer, today I'm going to be giving you guys interview tips for when you land your interview as a PCT. So let's get into the video. Okay, it's hot. It's hot. Okay, you guys, y'all need to watch these videos and watch these ads because I can't afford to cut on my AC right now. It's hot. I'm changing. I'm sorry. I'm changing. I gotta change. Much better. Let's get into the video. So in this first section, I'm gonna talk about your resume. First, you wanna make sure that it's neat, organized, and professional. You need to make sure everything that you need to have on there is on there. I would suggest that you limit your work experience to things that are more customer service based. If you don't have anything that's, you know, in a hospital, any volunteer things that you've done, especially in a hospital, make sure that's on there. High school jobs, I know people say you should take them off. I would say I would probably take them off if they're not 100% like customer service or hospitality or, you know, hospital related. Also, if you look at most resumes, they have like I think it's called the objective section at the very top. I think this is where you really win people over. I know when I got my resume professionally done, it says something like motivated military member looking to move customer service experience to a hospital environment or something like that. Just Google something that sounds really good and steal it, honestly, if it applies to you. And you don't have to pay to get your resume done, but you can. Another thing about the resume, if you have patient care tech experience or CNA experience or anything like that, or any job that has like the same type of duties, because like I said, there's so many different names for patient care tech, what you should do is make sure that you take some of the words from the job listing that you're applying to and make sure you put that on your resume, because most people, if they go through Indeed, I know for sure does it. I know the hospital that I interviewed at it. I know that the hospital that I interviewed at, they did it like, they ran it through some program and I could see where she printed out my resume, it had certain words highlighted, and that's because they went through some type of search engine that picked up those words off of my resume and compared it to the words that they wanted it to hit upon, I guess. So I guess they just took it straight from the job description. So if they said that they're looking for someone with EKG experience or phlebotomy or CPR certified, if you have those words in your resume, it's going to generate yours up first if they're going through a whole bunch of resumes. Another thing, I'm going to hit on this later, but you should also make sure you have multiple copies of your resume. Okay, this next section is going to be about research. So when you find out that you're getting an interview at that hospital, you should research the hospital, look at their mission statement, look what they're known for. For example, when I went to my hospital, I knew that it was a level 1 trauma center. I knew that it was like the largest freestanding ED in the Southeast. I knew that it was like the largest pediatric hospital in the area, and I was able to like sprinkle these details into my answers throughout the interview so that they were really impressed. Further example is if they ask you, why do you feel like you're good for this position? Or why do you think you'd be a good fit at this hospital or with our company? You would be able to say, I know that this is a trauma center and I have experience working with trauma, or I always wanted to be a trauma nurse, so I think that I'm going to gain a lot of experience by working as a tech in this trauma center, or something like that. Like, you can just sprinkle in the fact that you've done research on the hospital, and I think they'll be really impressed by that. Along with knowing other facts about the hospital, you should look up maybe their mission statement or their core values. This is another thing that I did in my answers when they asked me why did I think I was a good fit for that hospital. The first hospital that I was at was a religious hospital, or like a Baptist hospital. So I mentioned how important religion is to me and in my life. And I also showed that I knew their core values, because one of their core values was that they always have integrity. So I said something along the lines of, I'm in the Air Force, and the Air Force main core values are integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all that we do. And obviously pointing out that I live by integrity, because me being in the Air Force, that's something that I hold dear to my heart and stuff like that. So I was able to tie in integrity and also throw in the fact, hey, I know your hospital's core values. And the last thing I want to say about research is research questions, which will be my next video in my PCT series. I'll be going over interview questions that you should definitely look out for. But I do want to say you should research questions and practice your answers, but don't rehearse the answers to the point where it sounds robotic and unnatural, and when they tell you the questions and the question that you studied for isn't on there, you're gonna freak out. So just don't sound overly rehearsed. Go in calm, collected. Outfits. Research says that the color blue always does well in hospitals. I don't know if that's true. I wore blue on one of my hospital interviews. I always go for black and white, black and blue, grays, navies, and stuff like that. I don't really fall into the idea that you should do a pop of color to stand out. I just don't do that because I think I would be so anxious, worried about if they like it or not, that I wouldn't be able to focus on my actual interview. Ladies, when it comes to shoes, you should always wear closed-toed shoes for sure. Whether you decide to wear heels, they should be small, like 2 inches or less. If you decide to wear flats, just wear nice solid colored flats. Like I said, some people like to do the pop of color, some people like to do like cheetah print and stuff like that. I always wear black flats if I'm gonna go with flats, or like I said, small black kitten heels. One thing about my interview that kind of goes along with my outfit, I was really nervous about the fact that if I should wear a mask to my interview, which I did obviously. Now, this was at a point of quarantine where it was like, is everyone wearing these or not? The CDC at first said that we shouldn't wear them, and they said everybody should be wearing them. So it's like a weird time. I decided to wear my mask. My interviewer did not have a mask, and towards the end of the interview, she like moved where she was sitting and asked me to take my mask off. And I felt more comfortable being able to do that after she moved, because the interview was going so well, we were just talking about random stuff at that point. So it's just like two friends chilling, and that's how your interview is good. It's a good sign if they're just hanging out with you. But if you are gonna wear a mask, I would suggest wearing a solid one, maybe one that matches your outfit. The one that I had on was black and it matched my black blazer, and I think that went really well. So your perfume or your cologne, make sure it's light, nothing overpowering. Nothing that's just gonna stand out in a negative way. If you're gonna wear any at all, just make sure that you're clean. Really, soap is okay. You don't have to put on perfume for the interview. Also with your makeup, make sure it's light. I would say I don't think I would wear, maybe the makeup that I'm wearing now I'd probably wear for the interview, maybe a different lip. But I also don't think I would, oh, never mind. I have a wing eyeliner. I don't think I would do wing eyeliner for an interview. But other than that, my makeup's pretty tame. So nice, natural, light makeup. Also, with your jewelry, these hoops right here are a no-go. Don't do that. Light jewelry, studs, little pearls, maybe a light single strand necklace, and minimal rings. And I think that's all that I have for your dress appearance. Kind of related, but kind of not. What you should bring with you, maybe in a purse or a bag. When it comes to what to bring in your bag, I wanted to show you guys this. This is my portfolio that I take with me to every job interview that I've pretty much ever had. So if you open it up, on this side, I keep copies of my resume. This is resume paper. I don't know why it looks all bent up like that. And I need to blur that out because it has all of my information on it. This is a reference sheet with all my references on it. This lighting's terrible, I'm sorry. And on the back is my BLS certification. This is this is a business card down here, and this page, this is just paper. And right here I had the date circled of the job interview that I had. I wrote what time, I wrote who was I meeting with, and parking directions. I wrote directions from my apartment to the location in case my GPS on my phone stopped working, I guess. What to do after I got in the building, which floor it was on, all of that. The questions I have for them, I wrote that on here. And I also took notes during the interview and wrote those on here as well. I just wanted to show you guys that because I think it's really good to have, and that pretty much encompasses a lot of what I was going to say to bring with you in your bag. But let's get into it. You should always have extra copies of your resume, especially if it's a panel interview. I had an interview where I had to give someone else a copy of my resume because they only had one printed out, and it was a small panel, so I made sure everyone had one. I also bring extra copies of my reference list in case they didn't print that off. And I had extra copies of my BLS certification, which is my CPR certification that I just showed y'all. I would also suggest you bring some mints, not gum, because you might forget to spit it out before the interview, and that's extremely unprofessional. So definitely bring some mints, and make sure that you have directions, who you're meeting with, the time, and everything that you need to know, so you don't have to go back through emails and find what floor to go on and what hallways to go down. Make sure you have all that written down beforehand, and also write down the questions that you have for them, because at the end of the interview, it usually ends with, do you have any questions for us? And that's when you can show them not only that you have questions, but you had them written down beforehand. And I think that really shows them how serious you are. If you're gonna bring your phone in your bag, make sure it's turned off. Don't put it on vibrate, turn it off, or leave it in your car. And probably during these times, I would bring an extra mask. So that's pretty much everything that I can remember off the top of my head that I bring in my bag. Obviously with the portfolio or the notepad, bring a pen to go with it. Some people say bring extra pair of clothes and leave them in your car. That's probably a good idea if you spill something on your shirt or something. Some people say bring a light snack. Snacking makes me nervous. I'd probably be scared I'd get my shirt dirty or something, and then I would have to use my backup shirt. Next, I'm gonna get into the interview tips. Okay, it's time for the interview. When you get there, arrive 15 minutes early. Anything later than that is late. 15 minutes early is pretty generous. I've been known to show up 30 minutes early just because sometimes you don't know the parking situation. Also, since it's gonna be at a hospital, I would probably bring some change or some spare dollars, because I got to one of my job interviews and the parking wasn't validated and I didn't have any money to get into the parking lot, and I had to park where the patients park, and it was just a huge deal because I didn't have the money, because all I had was my debit card. So bring some spare dollars just in case you fall into that situation like I did. When you walk into the interview, make sure that you look them in the eye and smile and say hello. If it's a panel interview, make sure you say hello to everyone, even though you probably said hey to everyone when they came in the room. Make sure you shake everyone's hand. Make sure your hand's not sweaty before you shake their hands. That's gross. But make sure you shake everyone's hand and give them direct eye contact and give them an award-winning smile. So when it's time to sit down, make sure you're nice and straight, that you're paying attention, that you have everything looking presentable, and that you look like you're really eager to answer their questions, because that makes you look way more confident. So when they ask you a question and you don't have the answer ready right now, it's okay to take your time before you answer the question. It might feel like your heart's beating really, really heavy and like the world is slowing down. It's taking you forever, but it's okay. Just really listen to the question they ask you, take a deep breath, and then give them an answer. It's way better than giving them an answer that makes no sense or doesn't actually answer their question. Another tip, if they ask you about your experience and you've lied on your resume, you're gonna look dumb. If they ask you about CPR, and you don't know CPR, you're going to look dumb. They're gonna know. They're gonna catch you on a lie, and that looks way, way worse than just saying that you don't have any experience. So just please be honest and just don't lie on your resume. I don't understand why people do that. Just don't do it. It's not worth it, and that's really embarrassing if they call you out on it. And my last tip about the actual interview process is to always have questions ready for them at the end. Like I said earlier, where you have them written down. I usually ask if they have other college students on staff to get to know if they are willing to work with college schedules, or if they have other military members on staff, because they need to work with my Air Force schedule. Technically it's illegal for them not to work with it, but you know, it's nice to let them know that you're in the military. Throw that in there if you are. Also, I think one question that people typically ask is, what is a typical day in this position, or what are my duties and responsibilities, if they haven't already mentioned that or made it pretty clear, or if there's any other roles that you'd be taking on. I asked that question and I was very surprised to find out not only would I be working as a patient care technician, I would be working as a unit clerk or unit secretary. And that job almost ran me ragged because I had 2 different jobs, and I didn't know that until the end of the interview, when they already had basically told me I had the job, that that's what I was applying for. So definitely ask if there's any other roles that they're going to be kind of like springing up on you. But that's all that I have today in this video. If you're enjoying this PCT series, please let me know in the comments. Also, at the very, very end of my series, and this is gonna be a pretty full series. I have so many videos planned out. I'm going to be doing a PCT Q&A, so any questions that you'll leave in the comment section, I'm going to be putting those into the Q&A that I'm going to be filming at the end of the series. So leave some comments below if you have any questions that you want me to answer in that video. My next video in this series is interview questions and answers for patient care technician position. If you're excited for that, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, and like I said, turn on the notification bell so you know when I upload the next video in this series. This summer, I plan on pumping out videos because, you know, I gotta pay rent for this new apartment, you feel me? I gotta be able to afford to finally cut the AC on in here. So make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a blessed day. Bye.